I want you to just take a second and think about the last time you walked down a supermarket aisle.
Oh, yeah. It is just a wall of color.
Exactly right. You are surrounded by thousands of products. You've got um, snacks, beverages, personal care items, and they're all fighting for your attention with these vibrant, perfectly colored, glossy packages.
Absolutely.
But I've been wondering, how does that artwork actually get onto the cardboard or, the flexible plastic or the foil?
Yeah, people really don't think about that step.
No, they don't.
Hmm.
You probably think the most expensive, highly engineered part of launching, like a new line of premium potato chips, is the R&D. Or maybe paying some slick graphic design agency for the branding.
Right, the creative side.
But it's actually not. The real engineering magic, and honestly a surprisingly high recurring cost, is turning that digital logo on a designer's monitor into a physical, microscopic rubber stamp.
A very, very technical stamp, yes.
Right, a stamp that can slam into plastic tens of thousands of times an hour without blurring a single barcode. So today in this deep dive, we are looking at the invisible, highly specialized industrial layer that makes all of that packaging possible.
It really is an industry hiding in plain sight.
It is. We're going to unpack a company called Graphics Solutions India Ltd. And they operate exclusively in this space, which is called the pre-press layer of the packaging value chain.
Right, pre-press.
So our mission today is to figure out how this unglamorous, super technical niche operates. We're going to explore the mechanics of flexographic printing plates, and we'll examine the growth engine and the operational hurdles of a company that is scaling incredibly fast alongside India's consumer packaging boom.
And to really understand why this specific niche is so lucrative, you have to look at what they actually do. Because Creative Graphics doesn't print the boxes.
Right. They aren't the ones making the physical cardboard.
Exactly. They don't manufacture the plastic film, and they definitely don't design the logos. Instead, they manufacture the physical photopolymer printing plates.
The flexographic plates.
Yes. The plates that the downstream printing companies, the people we call packaging converters, actually mount onto their gigantic industrial presses to churn out the materials.
So they are essentially the middleman. They sit right between a brand's digital PDF design and the physical printed wrapper.
That's a great way to look at it. They are an enabling service. The sources detail that they primarily manufacture photopolymer plates for flexographic, letterpress, and dry offset printing.
Which sounds incredibly technical.
It is, yeah. They also do specialized variations, like digital sexo plates, metal backplates, coating plates, and they even trade in printing inks. But their direct customers are those converters running the presses.
But the end users driving the demand are the FMCG brands, right? The food companies, the e-commerce giants.
Exactly. The brands who need their products wrapped and put on a shelf. And Creative Graphics has serious scale here. They have around 4,000 customers across 8 factories.
Okay, wait. Let's pause and unpack the actual mechanics of a photopolymer plate, because I feel like the physical creation process is what dictates their whole business model.
Oh, absolutely. It's the core of everything.
Right. So if I'm visualizing this for the listener, is it accurate to think of these flexographic plates like highly engineered industrial scale potato stamps?
I mean, conceptually.
Yes. Like the brand digitally carves the design and Creative Graphics supplies the physical stamp that gets covered in ink and rolled onto a million candy wrappers.
The potato stamp analogy is conceptually perfect, but the execution requires sub-millimeter tolerances.
A millimeter, really.
Oh, yeah. We are dealing with photopolymerization here. So Creative Graphics gets the digital artwork from the brand. Then they use a highly precise laser to ablate, or basically burn away a carbon mask that's resting on top of a sheet of light-sensitive polymer.
Okay, so the laser burns the image into the mask.
Right. And once the mask has the artwork pattern into it, they expose the entire plate to intense UV light.
UV light. Got it.
So the areas where the carbon mask was burned away, the UV light penetrates down into the polymer. And that triggers a chemical reaction that cross-links and hardens the material.
Oh, wow. So the light physically cures the image into the rubbery surface.
Exactly. Then the unexposed, unhardened polymer is washed away. They use specialized solvents or sometimes thermal processing for that. And what you are left with is a raised three-dimensional topographical surface.
The stamp part, the part that actually touches the ink.
Yes, that raised surface carries the ink. And the relief depths we are talking about are measured in thousandths of an inch. It requires meticulous drying and light finishing just to remove surface tackiness. It's highly engineered.
So if that relief depth is off by even a fraction of a millimeter, what actually happens on the factory floor when they try to print it?
It's a complete operational disaster.
Really, just from a fraction of a millimeter.
Absolutely. Because in flexographic printing, complex colors are not printed all at once. They are applied sequentially.
Oh, right, like different layers of ink.
Yeah. A press will have different stations, one for cyan, one for magenta, yellow, and black. So imagine a brand logo with crisp white text outlined in a sharp red border sitting on a blue background.
Okay, I can picture that.
The plate applying the red ink has to align perfectly, and I mean perfectly, with the plate applying the blue ink. If Creative Graphics misaligns the digital rendering on the photopolymer by zero point 0.1 millimeters, the red bleeds into the blue.
The text becomes blurry.
Exactly. The text is illegible, the barcode on the back fails to scan at the supermarket checkout.
And the FMCG brand just rejects the entire run of, say, 10 lakh wrappers.
Yep. The converter has to throw away all that raw material, absorb the machine downtime, and they miss the brand's delivery deadline.
Which is brutal for their margins.
It is, and that is the underlying reality of the per-press business model. It's fundamentally an enabling service where extreme precision guarantees uptime for the customer.
Right, and because of that, it operates on a recurring revenue model.
Exactly. It's tied entirely to the speed of consumer marketing, not just a one-off capital purchase. Every single time a brand updates a nutritional label, say, to comply with new FSSAI regulations, or they launch a limited edition festive flavor.
Or they just tweak a promotional graphic, like adding 20% extra free.
Right. The old plates become completely useless. A brand new set of physical plates must be created.
Which is incredible for creative graphics.
Yeah.
They basically get paid every time a marketing department changes its mind.
That's exactly it.
So knowing what the product is, how large is the actual sandbox they are playing in? Because the sources project the broad Indian packaging market is going to hit $200 billion by 2030.
It's a huge number.
Right. But the sources also clarify that creative graphics specific addressable market, their TAM, is much, much narrower.
Yeah, you have to separate the overall packaging market from the pre-pressed TAM.
Because their market is just the annual spend on new and replacement plates, artwork, color management, and consulting.
Right. And that direct conservative TAM is estimated to be in the low hundreds of crores to maybe the low thousands of crores of rupees annually.
Which is still a lot of money, but it's a fraction of that $200 billion figure.
Exactly. Creative Graphics itself has a market cap hovering around 342 to 409 crore rupees. And their trailing 12-month revenues are around 346 crores.
So they're capturing a solid chunk, but there's plenty of room to grow.
Oh, the category is far from saturated. There are major structural growth drivers here: urbanization, the formalization of retail, stricter regulatory tracking on packaging.
And what we were just talking about, the explosion of product variations, the ESKU proliferation.
Yes, that is a massive tailwind.
But wait, let me push back on this a bit. If the broader packaging market is rocketing toward hundreds of billions of dollars, why is the per-press slice relatively small? Why isn't a company like this capturing more of that giant pie?
Well, it comes down to what ProPress actually is. It's basically the software and setup of the printing world. It scales with complexity, not with sheer volume.
Okay, explain that. How does it scale with complexity?
Think about it this way. If a major beverage brand decides to print 10,000 labels for a regional test market, they need a set of plates. So they pay Creative Graphics for that one set.
Right.
Now, if that test is successful and they subsequently decide to print 10 million identical labels for a massive national rollout.
They still just use that original set of plates.
Exactly. Assuming the plates haven't degraded past their lifespan, they don't need new ones. The converter, the guy running the press, captures the upside of that 10 million run through the volume of the plastic and the ink.
Ah, I see. So the press provider doesn't get a cut of the volume.
Right. They only get paid for the setup. So the real growth for Creative Graphics doesn't come from brands printing more of the exact same wrapper. It comes from brands constantly refreshing their looks and launching new product lines.
The SKU proliferation.
Exactly. 10 years ago, a domestic snack brand might have relied on 2 core flavors packaged in a single standard bag size.
It's like just salted in masala.
Right. But today, modern retail demands extreme segmentation. That same brand now offers 12 regional flavor variants, 3 limited edition seasonal packs, and 4 different bag sizes.
Right, from the tiny 5 rupee impulse buy at a local kiosk to the 100 rupee family pack at a hypermarket.
Exactly. And every single one of those variations and every single size alteration requires a completely unique set of flexographic plates.
So the complexity of the modern retail shelf is what continually spins the prepress revenue engine.
You nailed it. And another huge structural driver is the formalization of the economy.
Right, moving away from the unorganized sector.
Yes. Historically, a lot of Indian packaging was handled by very fragmented, unorganized local screen printers, or really low-quality offset shops.
Because local brands didn't need international quality.
Right. But as those regional Indian brands scale up and want to get their products into national supermarkets or they want to start exporting, they can no longer rely on those unorganized printers.
Because a national supermarket chain mandates standardized, high-resolution branding across all their stores.
Exactly. And if you are exporting to Europe or the Middle East, you have to meet incredibly strict regulations on packaging. You need specific non-toxic inks, flawless color matching. An unorganized local printer simply cannot deliver the tolerances required for that.
So the brands are basically forced to use the organized prepress sector.
Right. It funnels new clients directly to organized players like Creative Graphics.
Okay, but with the market expanding as brands demand more variety, how does Creative Graphics ensure it's the one capturing these new orders?
That's the million-dollar question.
Because the sources say the industry has surprisingly low entry barriers. Like, if anyone with enough capital could just buy the latest digital flexo machine, is their technology really an advantage? Or is it just table stakes to even play the game?
You're completely right, and the sources agree with you. The technology itself is not proprietary. There are no unique patents mentioned anywhere. The equipment is highly commoditized.
So anyone can buy the laser and the washing machines.
Basically, yes. So they don't have an impenetrable structural moat like a global consumer brand or a tech platform's network effect. Instead, they win on operational breadth and intense customer stickiness.
Operational breadth, like their distribution network.
Exactly. Look at their recent moves. They've just set up 6 additional manufacturing units in different cities.
6 new factories. That is a huge capital expenditure. Why do they need factories in 6 different cities? Why not just build one giant mega factory in Mumbai or Delhi and ship the plates out across the country?
Because geography matters immensely in this niche, you cannot centralize this kind of production effectively.
Why not? Shipping across India is pretty efficient these days.
It is, but packaging customers often need extremely short turnaround times. The FMCG space is brutal. Brands engage in rapid promotional warfare all the time.
Oh, like responding to a competitor's price cut.
Exactly. If a competitor drops a new promo on a Tuesday, a brand might decide on Wednesday to counter with a flash sale of their own. The converter needs the new promotional plates loaded onto their presses by Friday.
Wow, that is tight.
You can't rely on cross-country logistics when a single day's delay means missing a critical weekend retail window. Having a prepress factory in the exact same city as the converter is a critical advantage. Smaller rivals just can't easily replicate a multi-city logistical footprint.
So smaller players are geographically bottlenecked.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense for the distribution side. But what about the switching costs? You mentioned customer stickiness earlier.
Yes, their services layer is a classic sticky strategy. They don't just sell the physical plate, they offer in-house artwork teams, color management, proofing, and technical consulting.
So they embed themselves into the customer's actual workflow.
Deeply embed themselves. The color profiling integration is probably their strongest moat.
How does that work?
Well, when a converter installs a new flexographic press, they have to calibrate the machine. They adjust the tension, the ink flow, the dot gain profiles, and they build all these ICC color profiles based entirely on the specific physical characteristics of Creative Graphics plates.
So the printing press and the plates are basically mathematically tuned to each other.
Yes, they are dialed in together. So imagine a converter's procurement manager decides he wants to save, 5% on unit costs by switching to a cheaper local plate manufacturer.
A competitor down the street.
Right. If he switches, he invalidates all of the existing color profiles on the press. The operators have to halt production, run multiple test batches, recalibrate all the curves, and requalify the entire setup.
Which takes time and waste material.
Exactly. And the risk of ruining a live batch of, say, 50,000 premium cosmetic cartons because the new, cheaper plates transfer ink slightly differently, that completely eclipses the marginal cost savings on the plates themselves.
So once a printer aligns their color calibration with Creative Graphics, Switching is just a massive headache. They risk downtime and ruin batches.
Precisely. Once they are integrated into the workflow, the incentive is to stay put. It's a huge switching cost.
And that explains the pricing power mentioned in the sources. The company has shown the ability to pass through input cost increases of over 30% to their clients.
Which is incredible for a B2B supplier.
Yeah, a customer doesn't swallow a 30% price hike unless the alternative switching suppliers is significantly more painful.
It's an execution game, not a patent game. They win by having the right machines spread across the right cities, coupled with deep, multi-year relationships.
Okay, but executing this multi-city high-touch service requires serious capital. So let's look under the hood at the financial engine powering all this growth, because the numbers are really interesting.
They are very aggressive numbers.
Yeah, the top-line growth is phenomenal. Sales went from 48 crore rupees in FY21 to 251 crore in FY25. And their trailing 12-month revenue now sits at 346 crore.
That's up 39%.
Right, and operating profit jumped from 5 crore in FY21 to 33 crore in FY25. They have a 52.4% CAGR profit growth over 5 years.
Which looks fantastic on the surface, and their return metrics are high too. ROC is 25.7% and ROE is 29.1%.
But, this is a big but, there's friction here. Gross margins are at 25.3%, while net profit margins have slipped. They went from 8.3% in FY25 down to 5.4% in the trailing 12 months.
Right, and that discrepancy is crucial to understand. You have a booming top line, but a squeezed net margin.
Why is that happening?
Because the company is in a heavy expansion phase.
Yeah.
The costs are entirely front-loaded.
Front-loaded meaning they are paying for things before they generate revenue from them.
Exactly. They're paying for the depreciation, the new staff, the R&D for these new facilities, like the 6 new units we talked about, and a new alu foil factory before those facilities are actually running at full capacity.
So the expenses hit the income statement immediately, but the revenue from the local clients in those new cities takes time to ramp up.
Yes. But honestly, the more pressing metric, the one that really shows the strain of this growth, is their working capital cycle.
You know, the working capital days.
Yeah.
The sources say they drastically increased from 34.2 days to 74.8 days.
They more than doubled. It's taking them over twice as long to convert their operations back into cash.
That is a huge jump. What's tying up all that cash?
A large part of this is an intentional inventory buildup. Because of highly volatile input prices, the company went out and acquired a significant quantity of aluminum.
Aluminum. Wait, they manufacture polymer plates? Why are they hoarding aluminum?
Well, they do produce specialized metal backplates, and they are expanding heavily into alu foil packaging. But more importantly, the aluminum acts as a physical hedge against supply chain shocks.
A physical hedge. So instead of buying financial derivatives, they just bought a mountain of metal.
Pretty much. They rely heavily on imported raw materials. So if geopolitical tensions cause freight rates to spike or commodity prices surge, their gross margins could be wiped out if they were operating on just-in-time inventory.
So they decided to tie up crucial cash flow in physical commodities just to guarantee they have the supply and to lock in the price.
Right. They are sacrificing short-term capital efficiency for operational stability.
It sounds to me like they're sprinting while wearing a weighted vest. I mean, they're growing revenues at almost 40%, but all their cash is tied up in piles of aluminum sitting in a warehouse waiting to be turned into plates. How long can they realistically sustain that?
Well, you have to look at how they manage their capital. The company has a 0.00% dividend yield, and they do no stock buybacks.
So they don't return any cash to shareholders?
None. Every single rupee of that high 29% ROE is being aggressively shoveled right back into the furnace. It's funding those new plants and paying for those raw material stockpiles.
They are betting entirely on future growth.
Exactly. The thesis is that if the new factories stabilize and hit full utilization, the operating leverage will kick in. Those fixed costs will get absorbed, and every new rupee of revenue will flow much more directly to the bottom line. If that happens, those net margins could rocket back up.
Okay, so this heavy reinvestment strategy is entirely driven by the founders' ambitious roadmap. Where exactly are they painting the ship next? Because they can't just keep building factories in India forever.
Right. And leadership, specifically the founder and MD Dipanshu Goel, has signaled a really bold ambition. They want to double revenue in FY26.
Double it. going from 346 crores to almost 700 crores in a single year.
That's the signal, yeah. And to do that, they've identified several very specific growth vectors. The organic SKU growth we talked about earlier isn't going to be enough to double revenue that fast.
So what are the vectors?
The first is more geographic expansion. They are opening a new plant in Bengaluru to solidify their grip on southern India.
Makes sense, sticking to the localized distribution playbook.
But the more radical move is setting up a plant in Oman.
Oman, as in the Middle East.
Yes, it's
Oh.
specifically engineered to target the Middle East and Africa markets.
Okay, I really want you, the listener, to consider the risk here. Expanding regionally within India makes total sense. You want to cut delivery times to converters in Bangalore, I get that. But opening a greenfield manufacturing plant in Oman, doesn't that introduce entirely new geopolitical risks, currency fluctuations, and just, local relationship hurdles that they have never dealt with before?
It absolutely does. It is undeniably their most execution-dependent vector. Expanding across borders is incredibly uncertain.
Because they don't have the decades of legacy relationships in Oman that they have in India.
Right. It shows that management is extremely confident that their operational playbook, the color management integration, the fast turnarounds, is polished enough to be exported and localized anywhere.
If they succeed, it opens up a massive TAM. But if they struggle, that stranded capital in Oman is going to really hurt their return on capital.
Exactly. Now, alongside the geography, they are heavily pushing into capacity expansion for specialized materials. Specifically, they highlight alu foil and PVDC packaging.
Okay, you mentioned alu foil earlier. What exactly is that, and why is it a growth vector?
This is their premiumization angle. The real money in this industry isn't in stamping logos onto standard brown corrugated shipping boxes. It's in highly specialized, compliance-heavy applications.
Like pharmaceuticals.
Yes. Alu foil is basically cold-formed aluminum blister packaging. It is the absolute gold standard for the pharmaceutical industry because it provides a near-perfect barrier against moisture, light, and oxygen.
Which is critical for keeping drugs from degrading.
Right, and the regulatory environment for pharmaceutical packaging has literally zero tolerance for prepress errors.
Oh, I see. If a crisp packet is a bit blurry, maybe nobody cares.
Whoa.
But if a drug label is blurry,
It's a disaster. A blurred dosage instruction, an illegible expiry date, or a misaligned safety warning on a blister pack can trigger a multi-million-dollar product recall. Not to mention severe regulatory sanctions.
so the converters who print alu packaging require absolute perfection from their pre-press partners.
Exactly. And the same goes for PVDC, which is a specialized barrier coating used for premium foods to extend shelf life. By moving their client base toward these high-spec applications, Creative Graphics can command premium pricing.
They insulate themselves from the race-to-the-bottom price wars in the basic packaging segments.
Precisely. Now, the final growth vector they mention is the digital shift.
The digital shift, wait, does that mean digital printing? Because I thought they made physical plates.
It's a great distinction to make. No, in this context, the digital shift refers to automating their internal workflows, not the actual printing presses.
Ah, okay. Digitizing the business operations.
Right. With around 4,000 customers constantly ordering bespoke, highly customized plates, the administrative friction is immense.
I can imagine. The emails, the file transfers, the approvals.
It's a lot. So, digitizing the workflow means automating the intake of artwork, deploying client portals for remote color proofing, and using software to track job progress across all 8 factories in real time.
So it's basically an efficiency play. They want to squeeze more margin out of the thousands of customers they already have without adding a ton of overhead.
Exactly. It's a safer, more structural tailwind compared to building a factory in Oman.
Right. Okay, so that ambition to double revenue is definitely exciting.
Yeah.
But scaling this fast, especially on the back of heavy inventory and front-loaded costs, has to leave the company exposed to some serious fault lines.
It definitely does. The sources are very transparent about the key risks to the thesis here, and the most existential threat to their entire core business is technology disruption, specifically the rapid adoption of actual digital printing.
Okay, let's break that down. How does digital printing threaten flexographic plates?
Because digital printing bypasses the pre-press plate entirely.
Completely, entirely. No physical stamp at all.
None. The mechanics are basically identical to the commercial laser or inkjet printer you have in your home office, just scaled up to industrial factory-sized dimensions. The digital artwork file gets sent directly to the press, and the print heads apply the ink directly to the plastic or cardboard.
So there's no carbon mask, no laser ablation, no UV curing, no washing out the polymer.
Exactly. The entire physical prepress layer is eliminated for those specific print runs.
Wow. If that takes over, creative graphics loses its core product. And the capability of digital is staggering. When you think about campaigns like Coca-Cola's Share a Coke campaign, where millions of bottles had individual unique names printed on them.
Yes, that is the perfect example.
You physically cannot execute that with flexographic plates, right? You would literally need to manufacture a brand new physical plate for every single name.
Which would be impossibly expensive and slow. Digital printing allows for infinite, instantaneous customization with zero setup costs.
So is flexographic printing destined to become the VHS tape of the packaging world? Just sturdy, reliable, but ultimately doomed by the digital alternative.
That's the doom scenario, sure. And the company explicitly notes this is a substantial risk. If large packaging customers migrate their short-run jobs entirely to digital, Creative Graphics could see the utilization rates on their expensive, newly built flexo plants just plummet.
But let's temper that a bit, because we have to look at the actual unit economics of the two technologies.
Yeah.
I don't think flexo is dying tomorrow,
Yeah, it's not.
because it's a trade-off between fixed setup costs and marginal printing costs. With flexographic printing, you have a high fixed setup cost.
Yeah.
You have to buy the plates from Creative Graphics, you halt the press, you dial in the colors.
Right, takes time and money just to get ready.
But once that press is running, it can churn out 50 million identical soap wrappers at blinding speed. And the cost of the ink and the substrate per unit is incredibly low. The marginal cost approaches zero.
Exactly. And the inverse is true for digital. Digital has zero fixed setup costs. You just load the PDF and hit print.
But the marginal cost per unit remains high, right?
Yes, because the specialized inks required for industrial digital presses are significantly more expensive. Plus, the physical throughput speed of a digital press is generally much slower than a top-tier flexo machine.
Ah, okay. So there's a crossover point. If a brand wants 10,000 customized promotional boxes, digital is vastly cheaper because you skip the plate fee.
Right. But if you need to turn out 10 million identical wrappers cost-effectively, traditional flexographic printing is still vastly superior in speed and unit economics.
So flexo isn't going away, but the blend of jobs in the market is going to change.
Exactly. The highly profitable short-run jobs might migrate to digital. So Creative Graphics has to ensure their own digital flexo offerings stay relevant so they don't get stuck just fighting over commoditized long-run orders.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, beyond the technological threat, they also face some pretty severe input cost volatility.
Right, we touched on this with the aluminum stockpiling. They have a high dependence on imported machinery and raw materials.
And since they are importing, they are highly vulnerable to foreign exchange fluctuations. They are transacting with global suppliers in US dollars or euros, but they are generating revenue in rupees from domestic Indian converters.
It's a huge risk. A strong US dollar acts like a hidden tax on their gross margins. A sudden depreciation of the rupee hits their cost of goods sold instantly.
And even though they have pricing power, there's always a lag, right? They absorb the hit on their income statement for a quarter or two before they can successfully force a price hike onto their 4,000 clients.
Exactly. You can't just raise prices overnight across the board without some friction.
And then there's the broader economic cyclicality.
Yeah, packaging demand drops during economic slowdowns. If inflation spikes, consumer spending slows down, FMCG brands delay launching new products. They run their existing SKUs longer instead of doing redesigns.
And since pre-press revenue is tied directly to artwork changes, demand for new plates just contracts.
Exactly. The velocity of marketing decelerates, and so does creative graphics revenue.
Plus, competitors can always undercut pricing during a downturn to steal volume.
Right. And finally, there is a very classic scaling risk here. Key person risk.
Dipanshu Go.
Yes. He founded the company in 1998. He has steered it for 28 years.
Which is incredibly impressive. But in a B2B industrial service model like this, those major converter accounts and strategic brand relationships are often secured through the personal network of the founder.
Yes. The industry gravitas of the founder matters immensely.
So the risk is, as they try to scale and double revenue, transitioning from a founder-led sales engine to a decentralized corporate structure is notoriously difficult. If he steps back, does the client loyalty remain with the corporation, or does it fracture?
It's a huge question mark for any mid-sized enterprise making this transition. They rely so heavily on bespoke, trust-based technical consulting, so it's a vital risk to monitor.
Absolutely. So bringing it all together, What does the future hold for a company sitting right at the intersection of analog manufacturing and digital consumer speed? We've gone from the vibrant colors on a supermarket shelf all the way down into the sub-millimeter chemistry of photopolymer UV curing.
It's quite a journey.
It is. We've seen how Creative Graphics has scaled from 48 crore to TTM revenues of 346 crore by mastering multi-city logistics and embedding themselves into their clients' workflows. And we've seen how they're absorbing the front-loaded costs of really aggressive expansion.
And it really reinforces the big picture here. While this pre-press business isn't glamorous, it is structurally durable. Packaging is a repeat consumable input. As long as India continues to industrialize, formalize its retail sector, and demand better aesthetics on its physical goods, this invisible pre-press layer will continue to quietly rake in revenue.
It's the ultimate picks and shovels play for the consumer goods boom.
Exactly.
But I want to leave you, the listener, with a final provocative thought to chew on. We talk endlessly about the digitization of our lives, right? Software eating the world, virtual reality, the metaverse.
Everything is going digital.
But humans still exist in a physical reality.
Huh.
We need physical goods delivered in physical boxes. You can't eat a digital sandwich.
Not yet, anyway.
True. But as environmental regulations start forcing brands to experiment with entirely new, sustainable, and sometimes really bizarre packaging materials. Think about seaweed wrappers, or biodegradable plastics made from cornstarch, or compostable mushroom fibers.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the substrate is totally changing.
Right. Legacy industrial processes have spent half a century optimizing ink transfer onto perfectly smooth, fossil fuel-derived plastics. How would pre-press industry adapt to that? The humble printing plate is going to have to figure out how to stamp precise, non-toxic, water-based inks onto dissolving, porous, or uneven sustainable substrates.
And it has to do it without the ink bleeding or the material tearing at 10,000 impressions a minute.
Exactly. The engineering challenge is enormous.
Yeah.
The companies that solve the physical physics of printing on the sustainable packaging of the future, they are the ones who will quietly dominate the next industrial cycle. So thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. The next time you grab a snacks from the pantry or check a pharmaceutical label, look a little closer at the crispness of the ink and just appreciate the invisible high-speed engineering that put those colors perfectly in place.